Writing a report for the tourism industry can feel like you're trying to bottle a whirlwind, right? You've got all this data, cultural trends, logistics. It's all just flying around. So how in the world do you capture all of that in a way that people actually read and, more importantly, act on? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
So first things first, you've got to appreciate what we're even dealing with here. The tourism industry, it's not just one thing. It's this massive, super dynamic web of markets, customer behaviors, and logistics, and it's all changing constantly. Just trying to wrap your head around that complexity and get it into a single document, that's the first huge hurdle.
And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you take all that intricate, messy information and boil it down into a report that's not only professional, but also powerful and crystal clear for everybody, from your local stakeholders all the way up to international investors? So, where do we start? Well, it all starts with the most fundamental tool you have, the words you choose. Nailing the language is absolutely the first step toward creating a report that actually makes an impact. Look, in a field that is just jam-packed with data and analysis, your number one goal is super simple. Be clear and be concise. Your ideas need to land instantly. This isn't about trying to sound smart with complicated academic language. It's about making sure your message is understood immediately, with zero room for confusion. Okay, check this out. This is a perfect example. The before text is just drowning in corporate jargon like strategic positioning and capitalize on growth trends. The after text, it says the exact same thing, but simply, the hotel's location helped it get more luxury travelers. This is not about dumbing it down. It's about sharpening your point, and honestly, that makes it way more powerful. Now, it's not just about simplicity, it's also about tone. A really common way to create a more formal, objective voice is to shift from an active phrase like they decided to a passive one like it was decided. See how that removes the personal element? It can add this sense of authority. Now, you don't want to overuse it, but it's a handy little tool for keeping that neutral professional distance in your report. All right, so if you're going to write with authority, you've got to speak the language. Let's just quickly cover 3 key terms. First up, tourism infrastructure. I want you to think of this as the actual skeleton of a destination. It's not just the flashy hotels and airports. It's the roads, the utilities, the whole physical framework that makes tourism even possible. Next, we've got market segmentation. This one is huge. This is where you stop talking to tourists as one big, faceless blob. Instead, you're breaking them down into specific groups or tribes. You've got your adventure travelers, your families, your luxury seekers. Your report has to show you know exactly who you're talking to. And number 3, sustainability practices. This has gone from a nice-to-have buzzword to an absolutely core business requirement. When your report talks about this, it shows you're not just looking at this quarter's numbers, you're thinking about the long-term health and success of the entire destination. Okay, so we've got the right words. Now we need to put them in the right container. Every single effective report is built on a solid blueprint. So let's take a look at that structure. And here it is, the classic logical flow. You start broad with your title and your summary, giving the reader the big picture right away. Then you dive deep into the context in your findings. But the most crucial part is this pivot from findings to actionable recommendations before you wrap it all up. It's a journey that takes your reader from here's what's happening to here's what we need to do about it. Now, here is a pro tip that is going to save you a ton of headaches. The executive summary is the first thing people read, but it should always be the last thing you write. Think about it. It's impossible to summarize a report that you haven't even finished yet. Write it at the very, very end. That way you'll know it perfectly reflects all your final findings and recommendations. Now, just because you have a solid structure doesn't mean every report is identical. You have to adapt your whole approach based on one really critical question. What is the purpose of this report? Your goal determines your style. This table makes the difference crystal clear. An informational report just states the facts, like visitor numbers are up 15%. An analytical report adds some context that's 20% higher than our competitors. But a persuasive report, that drives action. We need to invest right now to keep this lead. Knowing which one of these you're writing changes everything. Okay, last section, we're in the home stretch. Let's talk about the common traps that can completely derail an otherwise great report. I mean, you can have perfect language and a perfect structure, but if you fall into one of these traps, especially with a global audience, you can seriously hurt your credibility. This sounds so obvious, but it is so easy to forget. Tourism is, by its very nature, international. The report you write in London could easily be read in Tokyo, so your language can't just be clear, it has to be universally understood and, of course, respectful.
So what does this actually mean in practice? Well, first, be culturally sensitive. That means no stereotypes or generalizations. Next, avoid confusing idioms. A simple phrase like, let's get the ball rolling, might mean absolutely nothing to a non-native speaker. Of course, proofread your grammar like crazy. Silly errors just make you look unprofessional. And finally, be consistent. Use the same terms and formatting all the way through for a really polished final product. At the end of the day, it really all boils down to this simple equation. When you combine clear, powerful language with a solid logical structure, what you end up with isn't just a report. It's a tool for change, a tool you can use to inform, persuade, and drive real action.
So here's the big takeaway from all of this. Your next report isn't just another assignment to check off your list. It is a tool you can use to build a marketing strategy, to secure a huge investment, or maybe even launch a brand new venture. The only question left is, what are you going to build with it?